HR planning for re-entry, shaping the new normal. With some early signs of businesses moving forward following the Prime Minister's broadcast on the 10th of May and subsequent government guidance, this second in a series of re-entry videos looks at how HR and talent management professionals can help organisations plan for the future. In our first, Stepping Back to Move Forward, we discussed the alignment of HR and people strategies to business objectives, employee engagement and the psychological contract, well-being and leadership skills. I'm Ewan Graham from Jarrett Consulting, and in this video, I'm pleased to further explore the theme of shaping the new normal for your business, recognising that the world of work is evolving and transforming. This video starts to give more detailed guidance, hints and tips on how you might go about addressing some of these important areas. This is an exciting time for HR professionals and a real opportunity to make your mark, as well as picking up tons of learning along the way. So firstly, how do we assess if we have the right skills in our business to take us forward? Previously, we discussed how new skills will help see you through an uncertain future. But how do you identify these? We highly recommend you start by analysing your company's skills gaps. And the starting point is your business strategy. Has this changed, or is it likely to? And what has the last period highlighted you need as a business going forward to meet client expectations, remain competitive, and do the right thing by your people? How have the ways of working shifted, and what do they mean for the skills now needed of your people? To answer these questions, you could canvass the opinions of your clients, suppliers, broader networks, and of course your people. Talent leadership then needs to determine the new performance standards and align key competencies, skills, and behaviours required in order to deliver the strategy. Once you've determined this, you need to consider the extent to which there are gaps in the current competencies, skills, and behaviours across different groups within your business. You can then start to prioritise and work out how best to fill these gaps. Key to this is determining the cause of the performance gaps. As you no doubt know, most skills gaps can be filled through development interventions, and we'll discuss these in more detail soon. But there may also be cause to carefully consider whether you might need to hire in specific skills if there is an urgent need, or consider alternative resourcing structures such as interims, freelance resource, or consultants. For a short-term requirement, these are often the most cost and time-efficient solutions. But how do we skill up our people? The chance to develop your people must not be overlooked, even if this requires more investment of both management time, your L&D resources, and of course your budget. If you've engaged your people about the need for skills development and sought feedback along the way, you stand a good chance of successfully earning their buy-in to the learning strategy. There are many ways to approach people development, and we can only touch on them here. We should of course remind you that employees on a furlough leave can undertake training, so long as that by doing so they don't generate any income or provide services for the business. Also, when considering your workforce plans and where there is greatest need in your business based on potential revenue, the opportunity to mobilise your people, retrain or cross-skill is high. Even though many of your people may be working remotely for some time yet, and potentially this may become a long-term preference for some, it doesn't prevent them from learning new skills through mentoring, coaching, peer-to-peer action-based learning, and virtual work shadowing of projects. Of course, there still remains the more traditional options, but given current circumstances, the likelihood of classroom-based training taking place is fairly remote and will be for some time, even when workplaces reopen. With so many now quite adept at using technologies such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams and WebEx to name but a few, virtual classroom training will work well as the obvious replacement. However, you may want to consider breaking down sessions into bite-sized content to avoid video conference fatigue. Alternatively, e-learning enables you to offer a varied online learning program by using a mix of text, audio and video, discussion forums, and interactive assessments. And a relatively new learning method through mobile devices means you have the ability to deliver learning at any time, anywhere, and on any device. It typically contains forms of micro-learning with short how-to videos, social learning, and other engaging formats. Finally, you may find that you need to take a blended learning approach, offering a variety of methods if your organisation has complex learning objectives and diverse training requirements. This is also highly effective when looking at development programs, which incorporate a variety of learning styles such as video, reading, action learning sets, application on the job, networking, webinars, or facilitated discussions, as well as traditional training. In the meantime, how do we continue performance conversations? It's important that you do continue with these whilst your people are working remotely, but be open and honest. Whilst discussing and measuring performance, take time to understand the impact of the current crisis on employees' performance, and as with all aspects of the business, recognise individuals and teams' social distancing and lockdown successes, and embed these into new established ways of working. One of our early resources offers advice and helps you through these virtual performance conversations. But what about your approach to workforce planning and the shape of your organisation of the future? Furloughed employees, social distancing, flight cancellations, and hotel closures all mean that employees are likely to have cancelled holiday plans, and many will return to work with more accrued holiday than normal. Furloughed employees can legally request holiday, and if possible, you should encourage them to use up some of their holiday days. Remember though that employees are entitled to full pay for any holiday taken. Realistically, you should anticipate there will be a high demand for time off in the second half of the year. This will create resourcing problems, so manage expectations and share details on how you as a business plan to meet people's holiday needs while making sure the company doesn't experience resourcing problems. A temporary law has been introduced that allows employees to carry over up to 4 weeks paid holiday into the next 2 holiday years. This applies for any holiday not taken because of coronavirus. For example, they're self-isolating or too sick to take holiday before the end of the year, or they've had to continue working and couldn't take paid holiday. Now is the time to plan and communicate with people. Should you need to ask employees to take holiday, check whether this is already covered in your employment contract. The notice period required to compel employees to take holiday is twice as long as the duration of the holiday. So, for example, if you want employees to take 2 weeks holiday, you have to give them 4 weeks notice. You may also, of course, be considering restructuring, and the sad reality is that many businesses will have to make redundancies. In our next video in this series, we'll look in more detail at redundancy and potential alternatives you could consider. Of course, remote working is here for some time, and you may be wondering if we have some tips to help you manage this. The answer is yes. We've already published some top tips on the subject, such as maximising the effectiveness of teams working from home, managing virtual employee relations, and top tips for working from home. These are all available on our website. But what about onboarding new staff virtually? What should you be thinking about? Firstly, remember your legal obligations when undertaking right-to-work checks and your compliance with the temporary measures put in place. Search COVID-19 right-to-work checks on gov.uk. Virtual onboarding is likely to require new processes, so make sure you collaborate with all the departments involved in order to agree a plan of action. Some things to think about include equipment delivery and setup. How will the employee receive their IT equipment, and what instructions will you provide along with remote support to get them set up on your systems? And what about communication? Remember that this may be their first experience of working remotely, therefore provide as much detail as possible and be explicit in your instructions. And virtual learning. Assess your critical learning needs for successful onboarding. It may be that you already have the right learning tools, but if not, how can you modify mandatory learning? And what about the first few weeks? Getting to know new colleagues and line managers is more important than ever. Make sure time is scheduled for virtual introductions, and ideally, appoint a colleague as a buddy for the first few weeks. A virtual lunch or virtual welcome drinks could also be arranged. And provide structure. Be clear about what tasks you want the new hire to perform and by when, thereby giving them some structure to their early career. How best do we coach and mentor employees at this time, however? Remote working has, by necessity, required many to be empowered, and now is the time to capitalise and expand on that. Identify individual strengths and give responsibility for tasks that will help them demonstrate those strengths and develop them further. Remember, development comes with setbacks as well as progress, which is where feedback and the role of line managers most comes into play. Previously, we talked about adaptive communications and being honest when we don't know the answers. It can be hard for line managers to adopt a coaching approach to team and individual conversations. Successful coaching demands good emotional intelligence, leveling with people, understanding the issues they face, and being aware of possible alternative views that will aid teamwork and help to overcome barriers effectively. Coaching isn't a one-size-fits-all process. It requires strong relationships that can only be achieved through investment of time. It's about understanding the strengths of individuals and the strengths they bring as a team and tailoring those to their development needs and aspirations. It demands more than just time. It requires questioning and human interest in others. So if you're expecting others to play a role in this process, make sure they're supported with the right tools from the outset. Our next video in this series is coming soon. In the meantime, you can find the other resources I mentioned at jaredconsulting.co.uk/articles. Do get in touch if you want to discuss anything covered in this video. Thanks for listening.